What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Country Investor. My name is Robert. If this is your first time tuning in this video, we're going to talk about some of the cons to having an Airbnb. I know a lot of people talk about the pros and all the positive things about Airbnb, but there are some cons that are associated with Airbnb that don't really get talked about a whole lot, so we're going to do that today. By the way, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on thezenfulwarrior.com. It's going to be linked down in the description. You can check me out on there. It's a lot of motivation, inspiration, and personal stories, all dealing with setting your mind right, getting in the right mindset. So definitely check me out on there. Yeah, without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. So one of the first cons I would consider even thinking about is, remember, this is a hospitality business. If you like hospitality, it's going to be a pro. If you don't like hospitality, it's going to be a con. Luckily for me, I'm not huge into hospitality. I'll do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. But I do have somebody who manages that side of it for me. I only have to step in very, very, very rarely. But yeah, so real quickly, I'll give you a quick little recap. So we have had one bad experience with one guest out of all the guests we've hosted at this point. We've had 60-something reviews, great reviews. We've had amazing reviews, honestly. Some really, really good ones. We have notebooks in each Geodome, and we've had some really great inspirational stories as well, personal stories. But we did have one guest recently that was already upset before even arriving to the property. You can just tell in the person's tone when you're messaging back and forth, and couldn't understand why. Thought maybe they just need a vacation. So blew it aside. I was like, you know what? These people actually need a vacation. They sound, grumpy, but we'll go ahead and give them a chance. That was a mistake. Should have never done that. But anyway, these people were upset before even arriving, just from messaging us. Within an hour of arriving, they were complained about everything, guys. Like literally everything. Not only complained, but outright lied about things that were wrong, that were not even wrong with the property. We checked this after they left, but yeah. We even offered them a full refund to leave just to get off the property, because people like that are liabilities and you don't want them on your property. Luckily, they took us up on half that offer. They spent one night and left, which was great for us. We don't want to deal with people like that. When you have this type of business, you don't want to deal with people like that. But again, yeah. So again, they just complained about everything, outright lied about a whole bunch of stuff. Long story short, it's over and done with. Got them out. That's it. So that's another con, is that you will have that occasional guest that is just going to complain about everything, just going to be an unhappy person. In my opinion, miserable. I don't know how else to explain it. You are going to get those people occasionally. For us, that's been our first one. Again, 99.99% of the people out here are fantastic and great. Again, if you have been a guest of ours, thank you. Truly appreciate it. And if you do want to check us out, we will be linked down below in the description. If you want to check us out, definitely look into it. But yeah, so that's another con, is you will have to deal with that rare occasional person like that. So another con about having an Airbnb that maybe people don't think of is you have a lot more bills associated to the Airbnb or your property versus having a traditional rental. When you have a traditional rental, usually the bills fall on the tenant. All you're in charge of typically is your mortgage. Some people pay for the water, and your insurance and your taxes. That's pretty much what you're in charge of on a traditional rental. When you get into the Airbnb side of things, you now have water, you have gas if you have gas, you have electricity if you have electricity, you have maintenance, which I guess you have to do that with your rentals as well, but you have a little bit more maintenance when it comes to Airbnbs, because you have a lot more movement. And you still have your mortgage, your insurance, and taxes. You still have all that stuff. But not only that, you also have your cleaning supplies, your cleaning people to manage the property. There's a lot more cost associated with having it and running an Airbnb than there is a traditional rental. So it does have a lot of moving parts to keep this business going. It's like a hotel. Hotels have a lot of moving parts in them. Another con to having an Airbnb is your income is typically not permanent. It's not predictable. It's kind of like the YouTube algorithm. Some months you have really, really good months. Some you have really low months. it's kind of the same thing. Airbnbs are usually kind of seasonal for most people in the sunnier parts of the country. You know, from May, March, usually March to September, it's your busy months, and then it kind of dies off towards the other months. If you're in the Colorado area, the mountains, it's usually the opposite. But it's very seasonal. You are going to have to really budget your money in those months where you're making all that cash. You can make quite a bit of money, over 10K, 12K, 20K. I've seen people make 100K in months for people who have multiple properties. You can make a lot of money in it, but you do have to budget it out, because remember, the slow season is coming around. So you are going to have to budget accordingly. That's something when I first started Airbnb, I wasn't really aware of, and I didn't budget accordingly. So I found myself like scrambling to cover things that I didn't expect, because I thought it was going to be like that all the time, and it really wasn't. So another con I would consider on this, it's a funny con. Maybe you may or may not be able to relate to this, but you have a lot of people, friends and family, both sides, and people you may just even meet sometimes. It happens to me. That usually will meet you. They find out you have an Airbnb. They're like, oh, where is it at? You tell them, or you show them, and you don't expect this, but people do it anyway. You know, hey, how much of a discount can you give me on a free stay? Or not a free stay, but how much of a discount can you give me on a stay? Or would you be interested in trading this for that? Or sometimes could you give me a free stay, depending on how close you are with people, right? Which is something that kind of caught me off guard. Wasn't really expecting, and I don't usually do that. I will do trades from time to time, depending on what it is. I have traded an Airbnb stay for, she was here earlier, but the Rottweiler that I have with me, I traded her for an Airbnb stay from a dog breeder. You know, I was cool with that. But yeah, you get a lot of people who either want heavy discounts or free stays. Again, they think you don't need that money, but you're still a regular person that has to pay bills. So just something to keep in mind. Maybe you can relate, maybe you can't. I don't know. So another con to Airbnb is, or renting out short-term rentals, which we've done things differently. So now this doesn't really affect us as much since we started our own website. But before, when we were just on Airbnb, you typically don't get your payments till after the guest checked in. I would prefer to get the payments before the guest checked in to make sure that the payments go through, because sometimes the payments will not go through and the guest still has access to it because you already sent all the codes. So we haven't had that happen before, but I know it has happened to some people. So I'd prefer to get paid before they check in rather than when they did already check in. So that's a little, I guess, con to hosting on Airbnb. But again, there are ways to mitigate it. And we have been able to figure out, once we learned how to mitigate it, we figured out how to do it now, along with creating our own website where we get direct bookings. Another con to hosting an Airbnb or short-term rental is going to be if you're on multiple platforms. If you're on VRBO, Airbnb, you have your own website, there's going to be a lot of management between pages, but there's always ways to automate this and to make this simpler. We use Hotel Runner. Hotel Runner, pretty much, we're not sponsored by Hotel Runner anyway, by the way. Just tidbit information for you guys to take and run with it. But it's a lot of management. Before we found out about that, we were having to go VRBO to block out a date, then go on Airbnb, then go on the website. It was just a lot of crap. And I'm so glad we've been able to find ways to make this passive income for the most part. Again, it's not 100% passive, but it's pretty passive. And that's going to be one of the cons, is just you're going to have to figure out which service you want to use to manage your properties, especially if you're on multiple platforms, because if not, it's going to be a whole headache. You might have double bookings. That's happened to us before. Luckily, we caught it way ahead of time, a month ahead of time. But still, it's just be aware and know that is a con, and that you're going to have to get that situated before even opening up your Airbnb, not like we did. But yeah, so guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I feel like the video is pretty long, and I can come up with both pros and cons. Again, I have a video on the pros. If you want to check that out, it should be popping up soon. Without further ado, guys, appreciate you guys watching. If you want to follow me again on the ZenfulWarrior.com, link in the description, without further ado, be careful, be good, take care, and God bless. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.